Get ready for your unofficial dental hygiene podcast. These are the tales of two hygienists, one East Coast RDH and one West Coast hygienist. Listen as they tackle the profession of dental hygiene with humor and enthusiasm. Now, please join Michelle Strange and Andrew Johnston as they tell you a tale of two hygienists.
Everyone, welcome to a bonus episode of A Tale of Two Hygienists. This week, we are bringing to you one of my favorite people, working with one of my favorite dental companies. And even as I say that, they are a dental company, but it feels so much more like they're a science company that just happens to have dental products. They're so good at the science. It was, only just a few years ago that I heard about Perio Protect. They were on my radar. I've done a little bit of research since then. And really the last several years, they've been the answer to a lot of my issues, a lot of my questions I was having with either my patients or, some things from my fellow hygienists. So I'm very fortunate that now that my company has decided to implement this into our protocol, that it has given me the opportunity to work a little bit closer with Liz. And if you are searching for something like this for your company, she will be a great asset for you as well. So I would challenge you, though, that before you continue listening to this episode, hit pause, go out and check those Google reviews on Perio Protect, then come back and listen. Because I think if you're a skeptic, that will really help you. But if you're already ready for the next thing for your practice, this is it. Buckle up, get ready. Enjoy this bonus episode with Liz Nies and Perio Protect. Welcome back, everyone, to the interview portion of this here podcast, A Tale of Two Hygienists. We're really excited today. So here's what happened. I was scrolling in the Facebooks as I do, and there was a post in Dental Hygiene Network, if everyone's familiar with that one. It's one of the bigger groups that are out there. And let me read this to you of what this says. It says, "Hello, RDHs. I need your opinion. As I've been out of full-time clinical practice for a little while, a friend of mine went to a dentist, had scaling and root planing. He said he still had pockets, and they sold him a treatment called Perio Protect. It's X number of dollars, and told him it would help his pockets. Sounds like a scam since the medication is only on gingival surface. Thoughts?" So that's the way this starts. And so I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about the answers for this, but there are 240 comments on this thread. And if you guys are on social media, 240 comments, that's the dumpster fire type conversations we have. So we've been using Perio Protect in my company. I've been researching it for probably the last couple of years. One of our favorite people, Lacey, she's part of the podcast, she swears up and down by it. I trust it. And so I thought, you know what, this would be a great topic to have on the podcast. And so we brought on Liz Nies, who is my best friend who helps educate all of our clinicians. Liz, welcome to the show. And do you mind introducing yourself a little bit?
Not at all. Thank you for having me. My name is Liz. I've been a hygienist since 1984. I've done some consulting. I've been director of clinical hygiene, but my most rewarding position is the one I have right now. I started with Perio Protect. I found it at a Career Fusion, which was this conference a long time ago. Yeah, I met Tanya, and she told me about the product, and I said, "Where have you been all my life?" Because I'm like, it's treating what's causing the issue for all these patients, inflammation. Right. And I get to train people and help their patients be healthier. My main role is the DSO liaison at Perio Protect and team trainer. So I am privileged to help clinicians do better by their patients by getting them healthier in between visits.
So here's what we're going to do. This is an audio podcast. And so we're going to try and use our words to describe how Perio Protect actually does the job. Because from this post that you heard me read, and I should say, just to kind of close off that part of the conversation, 240 comments, 240 pro-Perio Protect. This is one of the things that are out there that is, well, to her word, a scam. This is not a scam. This isn't a get rich quick situation. This isn't a get healthy quick situation necessarily either. There's a lot of compliance involved. There's a lot of science involved. And so maybe if we could talk a little bit again on what is Perio Protect and how does it work?
Okay. So Perio Protect is basically, there's two pieces to it. There is a tray, and the tray is the delivery system. The tray is made when clinicians send in a 6-point periodontal charting, really good models, impressions, or scans, and a lab script. And then we create this custom fit tray. Think of it like a custom suit. The key to the tray is an interperipheral seal. And the reason that's the key is this seal is going to force medication as deep as 9 millimeters underneath the gum line and hold it in place to overcome curvicular fluid flow. Because curvicular fluid flow pushes everything out of the pocket. Mm-hmm. The medication is a hydrogen peroxide gel that's FDA approved. The trays are FDA cleared. And that gel, the hydrogen peroxide breaks apart into oxygen and water. Now we've got this oxygen-rich environment. The aerobic bacteria thrive subgingivally, and the anaerobic bacteria are kept at very low numbers. We're not sterilizing the pocket. We're just creating an environment where you have a healthy biofilm every day. It whitens your teeth because it's hydrogen peroxide, and it freshens your breath because you're not getting the volatile sulfur compounds or the poop of the bacteria. So it's been around since 2004. We've had FDA clearance since 2004, and it works. We have over 1,900 reviews on our website of patients that are happy they made the investment.
Can I clarify one little point that you just made? Because I think that a lot of us are taught in school and maybe some of our courses that we take that these volatile sulfur compounds are on the tongue. And you're talking about trays that don't actually go around the tongue. So tell me a little bit more about that.
So, yeah, we've always thought for years that there were more volatile sulfur compounds located on the tongue, which is why most fresh breath treatments involve a tongue scraper. Mm-hmm. But research has shown that there's actually more subgingivally. Wow. And so patients can wake up without fuzzies on their teeth, and their breath is really, really fresh. So spouses love when their spouse uses Perio Protect.
I bet. Well, I think that's just, it's one of those things that, we talk about this on the podcast all the time. Look, everyone, you got to keep learning because there's so many things that as more and more studies are coming out that we're learning new things. I also wanted to just reiterate one time because look, how many meetings have you and I done for our group? 20 something?
Yeah.
Something? We've done a lot. Okay. So we've done a lot of these meetings. And I feel like even though you just talk about this seal, I want to just talk to the audience one more time about this seal because how does it actually work? I think everyone's envisioning bleach trays.
Mm-hmm. So have you ever given a patient a bleach tray and you notice, their gum margins are really nice because the hydrogen peroxide is oozing out of the tray. So the tray actually goes 4 millimeters above the gum line. And that's where the seal is. So now when you have that seal and you force that medication down into the pocket, the curvicular fluid, it almost creates a pump and is pumping the gel throughout the entire arch. And that's what holds it in place. The hydrogen peroxide only sticks around for 17 minutes. And after 17 minutes, it's inert. And people always say to me, well, hydrogen peroxide is going to blanch the tissues. It doesn't because we're at 1.7%, right? What is your whitening in your offices, Andrew? 8% to 40%?
Yeah, we have 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40.
Mm-hmm. So think about that. We're only at 1.7%. So, I have patients that use Perio Protect, get whiter teeth because they can't use those other products.
Yeah.
So somehow I think I forgot to answer your question, Andrew. I said too much.
No, see, that's the thing. I think our audience loves when you talk too much. You can never talk too much on here. So I want to talk a little bit, I think, about, you have a really great analogy about a hyperbaric chamber that you talk about and how beneficial oxygen is to not just for like the pockets, but the surrounding tissue.
Mm-hmm. So we've been told that periodontal disease is considered a chronic wound. And what we learn is that if you cut somebody's periodontal disease out of their mouth and it involves 10 to 20 pocket sites or more, the wound is about the size of the palm of your hand. And if you had a wound like that on your body that would not heal, eventually you'd be like, hey, doc, I better do something. They'd send you over to a chronic wound center, and then they'd stick you in a hyperbaric chamber 2 hours every day for 6 weeks to surround that wound with oxygen under pressure so you could heal. On a very small scale, these trays work very similarly to mini hyperbaric chambers. They hold oxygen under pressure to kill the bacteria causing your infection.
And so you're going to have white blood cell action, red blood cell action. You're going to have all of the things that are helping these wounds heal quickly under the gum line.
Exactly. So, one of the things, as you know, that I always talk about, and I think it's a big aha moment, is we spend hours going over home care with our patients. Proper technique, flossing, brushing, water pick, all of them. And the reality is research shows that you can only reach how far, Andrew?
2.4. I don't know. You're 2 point something millimeters below the gum line.
Yeah. So 2 to 3 millimeters.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, how many patients that you see every day have pocketing greater than 2-3 millimeters?
Right.
And you are telling them to do the same thing and getting the same results. So if you can get, and I don't even think I said this yet, but the trays actually force that medication as deep as 9 millimeters into the pocket. Macrophages have a really difficult time, white blood cells, existing if there's not oxygen. So if there's not enough oxygen, they can't even do their job. So if you can force a whole bunch of oxygen deep into that pocket, you are energizing that white blood cell, boosting the immune system. You're going to have quicker healing, tissue's going to form faster, neovascularization occurs, which is just a whole bunch more blood vessels. And this is how come we can get stippling in just a couple of weeks on the gum tissue of usage. And you will see 50% decrease in inflammation in just 2 weeks.
You know what I think about all the time whenever you talk about these macrophages? And the great thing, everyone, you probably really need to take a course where you're watching all of this with Liz, because I mean, holy moly, the visuals are so much better than the words can even say. But you know what I think about every time we're talking about how the oxygen gets in there and energizes this? I think like someone just turned the music on. They're going to have a little macrophage party down there. And like the music goes do. And oh my gosh, it just, the things that go on in my brain. So look, this episode isn't going to be super long for everyone to listen to because, well, multiple reasons. One, there's just too much science. There's too much stuff that we could talk about forever and ever and ever and really just still touch the surface of it. And we're going to get into some calls to action here at the end of the show. So make sure you guys stick around for that. There's an annual meeting that like super informative that we'll talk about. But one last little piece kind of along the health realm that I wanted to talk about is you mention often about what does this do even for the person that doesn't have periodontal disease, but maybe they have some systemic issues like diabetes.
Mm-hmm. So we know that when we take care of our patients, and if they're diabetics and they do a really good job and their oral health improves, their diabetes gets better. And one of the things that has been happening for people who add Perio Protect is patients are having a significant drop in their blood sugar, their A1C. And we're thinking it's because of this boost in the immune system and that they're able to now focus on the infection diabetes, the high A1C, as opposed to focusing on inflammation of the mouth. Because the only reason for our failure with the great treatments that we're doing chairside is the repopulation of the pocket with the bad bacteria. Whether you're using a laser, whether you're using antibiotics, you're doing great work. The key is in between visits and maintaining a healthy biofilm, getting off the roller coaster of unhealthy, healthy, unhealthy, healthy. So you're maintaining this health daily as opposed to being on that roller coaster, if that makes sense.
Gosh, it's so important. It's so important. I think the listeners at this point are saying, okay, like we love the science. We're going to check that out in a little bit. Now they're probably thinking, okay, can we go through a step-by-step because I don't have time to even use the restroom or get a bite to eat. I'm working through my lunches. Like you guys are going to add one more thing really for me to do. So do you mind if we just talk a little bit about kind of start to finish? What does the process look like to get these trays created and into the hands and mouths of our patients?
Okay, so you talk to the patient about it. Hopefully they say yes. You send to the lab a lab script, a 6-point periodontal charting, really good models, impressions, or scans. We usually can get those trays made in 5 to 6 days, but we say leave us 10 business days to get them back to you. So make the delivery appointment 3 to 4 weeks later. Then you deliver the trays. You start them at 2 times a day for 15 minutes for at least 2 weeks. And the reason for more often in the beginning is we've got to really hit the repopulation of the bacteria underneath the gum line. After 2 weeks, they drop down to 1 time a day, and they do it 1 time a day for 15 minutes until they see you again. You dispense 2 to 3 tubes of gel when you dispense the trays, and that should be enough to last to the next perio maintenance visit. If it's 6 months, 4 to 5 tubes.
And how specific do the scans or impressions have to be?
So the better the scan, the better the tray, the better the impressions, the better the tray. But we're pretty good at this because this is all we do. And so, we work with you. We'll work with you to get the best impressions you can. You need to have a deep impression, 4 millimeters above the gum line all the way around. And you do the best you can. And if you can't, you can't. You're just going to write a note on the lab script to say, hey, look, patient's a severe gagger. This is the best I could get. Please make me a great tray, and we will.
Mm-hmm. About how long are we expecting these trays to last?
So the tray material itself will last 5 years or more.
And what are some things that we should think about? Like what would make them not last as long? Because I'm thinking one of the FAQs that we had is, can I sleep in them?
Okay. So, you probably could sleep in them, but they'd be a really expensive night guard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And you also need the trays to breathe. Remember, we do have a seal around the gum line, and we don't want to keep it covered for 8 hours while you're sleeping. So these trays are temperature sensitive. You want to store them at room temperature. You don't want to leave them by a window where a lot of sunlight's coming in. There really isn't a lot of byproduct left behind. You just need cold water and a toothbrush to really keep them clean. So it's super simple to use, super simple to carry around. We have a nice carrying case, or, a lot of people just keep them in their pocket. You don't want to keep them in a hot car.
So one of the questions that I had, if you remember, we went out to dinner one time, and I would like I'm like, look, this isn't going to work because of this one thing. And that one thing is something you probably hear a lot of. Look, my patient just invested this much money into these beautiful trays, and now we need to do a new crown, or now we need to do a new filling on number 3, and those trays just aren't going to fit anymore. I just can't ask my patient to, fork over more money. What is your response to that? Or what was your response to that? And what do you currently say?
Okay. So the good news is, dentists are really good at what they do, right? Whatever they cut away is usually what they put back. So for traditional dentistry, and we're talking fillings and crowns, the tray should still fit. And a key to this is tell the doctor to use the tray to make the temporary for the crown. That way, the new crown will fit into the old tray. However, when they're doing bigger dentistry, extractions, bridges, implants, they are going to need a new tray. And we realize this. So at Perio Protect, we discount a second set of trays for that patient because we do have the patient's name on file. We will make those trays $20 less a tray, which means you can pass that on to your patients. For instance, the fees for these trays are being charged different amounts throughout the country, right? The lowest I've ever heard, $255 a tray. The highest I've ever heard, $1,500 a tray. It depends on where you are, where your specialty is, and what you're comfortable with. The average, I would say, is about $800 a set. Many practitioners have a replacement set based on this discount that we provide, and they will do it closer to cost of what the trays cost to be made. It's $88.95 a tray normally.
Okay.
And then you have shipping and handling and pour-up charges. So somewhere, depending how you send them to us, whether it's impressions or models, it's somewhere between $200 and $230 to have the trays made is your lab fee.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit. I think as we're closing down, like the how-to part is the maintenance again, because we talked before about a tray cleaner.
Yes. So we are really excited. We have finally found, and we've tested hundreds of tray cleaners. It's called Smile Saver Tray Cleaner, and you can buy it off our website at perioprotect.com. And it can work for aligners. It works for Perio trays. And basically what you do is you just squirt 2 squirts each side, put the gel in the tray, put the trays in your mouth, and it is clean and ready to use. Aligner people really love this tray cleaner. It's fresh. You can squirt the trays and leave them overnight. And we are currently shipping samples of that when we have it in stock with our trays for your patients to try.
So what I'd like to talk about now is I feel like there's a hygienist out there that's just he or she is feeling it, right? They're like, yes, I want this into my practice. It's going to be an uphill battle though, trying to get the office manager or the doctor or whoever it is kind of on board. So what advice do you have for them of getting this into their practice?
Well, the good news is, Andrew, we are offering anybody who wants to, that listens to this podcast, a free 15-minute consult where we go over exactly all of these things that your practice needs to know to help them understand what it can do for them. Healthier patients is really the key. I mean, this is the one thing that we do is periodontal disease, and we will do almost anything you need us to do to help you get started because we want people to be healthier. It's a non-invasive treatment. Doesn't hurt. Patients see results.
Yeah.
And that's really the great part. I mean, you and I talked about the review section on our website. We have like close to 1,900 reviews at this point of people that just say it was worth the investment. Thank you, my dentist. Thank you, my hygienist. And we giggle. We read these in our morning meetings because it's our warm fuzzy.
And I mean, the listener's going to have, hopefully a really easy time believing that this is true from my words, but I feel like we're always pitched things. We're always pitched that this is the next best thing. This is the next best thing. The thing that I can tell from my personal experiences, though, is that genuine attitude of what you just said. It really is about the patient. It's not about the dollar. It's not about, like, you work with us so well as a company on every facet. As a new company going to a new product, there's going to be some ups and downs, right? And there was some stuff with our scanning information that was kind of getting not sent to the right place and this and that. And I called up the lab people and I just talked to them for probably about 30 minutes. So not only did they spend enough time with me, but also the back and forth emails. As I go into a new office and I say, hey, can you check this? Email back within 15 minutes. So kind, so delightful. When we went to the annual meeting, same thing. We were outsiders. I don't know how to say. Like we were the newbies at this group. Just us, the team that I was with, and there were hugs. They were like, "You guys are part of us. Like, welcome." And we weren't even a part of you yet. And so, do you mind actually just talking a little bit about where does that come from?
So Perio trays were founded by Dr. Keller because his mom really was not enjoying going through her traditional periotherapy and she didn't want to go through it again. And she actually called him to action to find something that would work, that didn't hurt and would offer results. And he worked tirelessly and it took years. And so the company is really a family. So we are a company that you actually get your own customer care person. And that person is in charge of your account. And we will call you and take care of you and answer any question, give our cell phone number, whatever we need to do, because we know you're busy. If you're calling us, you need an answer right now. And we have about 30 seconds to answer it so you can get to your next patient. And we know that. And so we really do strive to do the best we can. And I can say that we have a lot of fun. As
it's evident. It's very evident. Yeah. I've enjoyed working with every single person that we've ever come across. And in fact, we've had people in like our IT section and people in like the facility section, everyone in our group that has talked to your group for any particular reason, there's never been one bad thing. And so in addition to like my own testimonial about, working with you guys, I think those reviews that you mentioned a minute ago that's the standard. Go look at those. Go look at those 240 comments on that Dental Hygiene Network post. Are you surprised by that, by the way? Did you know about that post? Have you seen it?
I think I've heard about it, and I think I even got on there a couple times, and then it's like, whoa, that's a lot of information to answer, and I'm tired. But
yeah,
it's important. And a lot of times I don't chime in because I do work for Perio Protect. So
Sure.
I like to just watch and see the answers. And, Ann Guillon's a big one. She gets on there.
Yeah,
and,
she loves it.
And she is just the bomb when it comes to being able to give the correct information, right?
I mean, she had like 8 or 10 replies in this one little section. So yeah, she is all about that.
And I mean, I've known Ann a long time, and I always knew that this would be perfect for her with what she does. And that's really, we want people that believe in us and said the message. And it was a very slow process when he first came out with these trays. People called it a scam. It's not going to work. You don't have research. Our gel is the only one with all this research behind it. There's a lot of other gels on the market. And a lot of times we'll get calls that people say, oh, I'm having all this sensitivity or it's red. And we'll say, well, what gel are you using? And it's not our product. So, it's important that your patients know that what they're getting is quality, is researched. I mean, hydrogen peroxide, when whitening products first came out in the 90s, 6-year-long study, FDA. And what they found was patients who used it one time a day, multiple times a day, there was no carcinogenic activity or adverse reactions, right? They had everything that we want. There was less bleeding. There was less inflammation. And they even tried to harness hydrogen peroxide back then. And they couldn't overcome curvicular fluid flow. And that was in the 90s. And Perio Protect was created in 2005. So 2004, 2005. And I think it's so far out there for a lot of clinicians because it just seems too simple.
Yeah, it really is so easy. One of our clinicians, by the way, she just did her second set of trays in 2 days. And so that's what she said. She said, I had to do my own little research, and she did. And then the next day she did tray number 1. And then the next day she said, well, now that I know how to do it, it was easy.
And wait till she sees the results.
Oh my gosh.
Then once you see it, then you're like, oh my gosh, my patients are going to love me. And that's what happens. They come in and they say, you are the bomb. I can't believe it. I'm not getting any bleeding when I'm brushing. And then they hear the numbers and they're just blown away. And and dentistry can be tough, right? People are hard on us in dentistry. I mean, there's days where you just want to, So having patients happy when they show up. And let's talk about where we are in this day and age of how much time you have per patient.
Right.
Because of the shortage of staff and how busy offices are. Do you really want a patient that's showing up with all this calculus and inflammation and it's going to take you forever? You know me, I can go on and on. But if you have a patient who's healthier, one of the things that happens with Perio Protect is the hydrogen peroxide breaks down the protein chains that hold the piece of calculus together. So now that deposit is much softer. And when they come in, it's a chalky consistency. So it flicks off super easy. And now these cleanings are a breeze. You can spend more time talking to your patients about the important things, oral systemic connection, restorative needs. Maybe you could even check in and have that personal conversation that we usually only have time for as we're walking down the hall, rather than sitting there spending time scaling teeth and ergonomically killing yourself.
Right.
Making your life easy.
This kind of goes back though to what we were mentioning before. Like I'm envisioning your slides on the part about making the process easier. And it's hard to communicate over just audio because you do have these really cool slides where it says, this is the first time the patient presented. This is the patient presenting with only Perio trays. I was like, wait, there's nothing, no cleaning happened in between there? No, there's not. Okay. Now this is what happens, in conjunction with scaling and root planing and all of that. Everyone, I can't tell you enough. You need to do more research on this. So reaching out to Perio Protect, reaching out to Liz. If you guys go to perioprotect.com/ATOTH, ATOTH. Then, of course, that's where you're going to sign up to get that consultation. But I don't even think that that's going to be enough. I think that I honestly wish that all of you could come to the annual meeting. It is a nerd's like heaven. Like, it was the best science. You talk about the different types of bacteria and viruses and things that live in a body. You want to know like the deep down dive in that. You got to go to this annual meeting. When is the annual meeting again?
The annual meeting is in St. Louis. It's October 7th and 8th. And don't forget about the Oxidizers, Andrew. The Oxidizers are that band that play on that Friday night, and we all go to Tanya and Doug's house. They're my bosses. And Doug is the drummer, and we have somebody from the lab who plays the guitar and providers that come in, and we jam and we just celebrate a day of learning because it's pretty intense. It's a lot that we go through, but we would love for people to come and join us October 7th and 8th in St. Louis.
And they can just head to the website to sign up for that?
Just head to the website. It's perioprotect.com 2022, and it's 11.5 CE credits for both. And last year we live streamed it. So you do have a possibility, if we're going to do that again, to do it in the comfort of your own home.
So the last thing I want to touch on, because, education is so important to me. It's near and dear to me. It is pretty much the center of everything that has ever happened to me is education. So do you mind talking a little bit about the webinars that go on for the certified providers and, Dr. Bale, Doneen, and that kind of affiliation?
Yeah. So when you're a certified provider, we think it's really important to stay on top of the science because it's ever changing, the things that we learn. And so we are constantly having something called a master series for our certified providers. It's usually 1 CE. It's a Tuesday, or it's during the week in the evening. And it's given by Bale Doneen, and he's talking about oral health's critical role to cure arterial disease with the Bale Doneen method. And he's a cardiologist. And he actually wrote a book called Beat the Heart Attack Gene, where they go into how they've incorporated Perio Protect into treating their patients. And I think I'm really excited for this webinar because he's a very dynamic speaker and he keeps it simple so that as dental professionals, we stay right with him and it makes you excited about what you're doing because, we live in the dental world. Patients don't. And we expect them to get all this. And they really do want to be healthier. You talked about cost earlier, and I think we have to make it really clear that if it doesn't matter how much something costs, if we really want it, we figure out a way to get it. And so patients show up to your practices every day because they do want to keep their teeth. And if we remember that, and we are true to ourselves and offer them the treatment that truly is best for them, not just stacking everything on there to make a bunch of money, but offering them a comprehensive treatment plan for them, they're going to find a way to pay for it. And they're going to thank you tenfold, probably referring a lot of people to you.
100%. Liz, you've had to see my stupid face twice today. I am so sorry for that, but I appreciate you so much for being on and educating our listeners. Again, I'm going to have everything in the show notes for links for you all to click on. But if they wanted to reach out to you personally with any questions, how might they find you?
So you can reach Perio Protect at 314-256-0772. If you want to speak to me personally, just ask for Liz or extension 132. But any of the Perio Protect family will be happy to assist you.
I can absolutely agree with that. That is so true. All right. Thank you, Liz. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Andrew.